All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to KBN Live after a couple-week hiatus. We're back. Glad to be talking about tournament action again. Big tournament just went down over the weekend. We kind of been all, on the pins and needles, waiting for these things to get going. I'm Jeff Malott. We got my partner Ryan Lambert up there with the little sunny beach in the background. He's on location at Panama City Beach, right, buddy?
On location.
On location. Yeah. So we're excited to welcome the Hobie BOS Kentucky Lake winner and defending Tournament of Champions winner, Jody Queen, to KBN Live. Jody, thanks for taking time, buddy.
Hey, guys. No problem. Glad to be here, man.
You a little bit tired?
Oh, man, I'm so tired. I almost fell asleep like 15 minutes before you called. I was sitting there with my head nodding. I was like this. I had the nods real bad.
I bet. Yeah, you got to be tired.
My wife said a big dinner, and, man, once that dinner hit bottom, I was almost done.
I know, Ryan was there, and he just made the long trip down to the beach. You guys,
I wasn't there.
Well, you were sort of there. And,
I drove through.
Yeah. So yeah, I know everybody's back to reality today on a Monday, and we're excited to talk to you about your big win. So, let's get started. I know you're going to get people hitting you up all week about this. You'll probably be on 100 different podcasts. So we're glad to get you on Monday night and talk a little bit about this.
Yeah, I've got one in an hour. So.
Yeah, we won't keep you long. We'll get you out of here. Busy man, popular man. So
you guys are great, man. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So
we're glad to have you.
Ryan, I'm sure you want to jump in on some of this because you've obviously faced the tough conditions, but it looked like from a distance, I didn't get to go, that it was a tough sledding for a lot of folks over there.
It was. I think there were a lot of factors in play. Weather wasn't optimal as far as moon phase and whatnot goes, and it was bright, sunshiny, and then boats everywhere. I can't remember a lake that I fished on, and I've never fished St. Clair, but I can't remember a lake that I fished on with more boat traffic, especially on the north end. How was it where you were, Jody?
It wasn't. I don't think it was quite as bad as the north end. I'll tell you, man, what really, really I think messed us up on the bite was they quit drawing water.
Oh yeah,
they were pushing like 40 or 50,000 at the gates there on Wednesday during pre-fishing, and then all of a sudden it went to 21,000 and stayed there for days.
Yep.
So yeah, I think they had a lot to do with. We lost all of our current, and of course, that current, it positions those fish around anything that's blocking it. Anything that obstructs the current that had fish on it during pre-fishing, and there was no current. So they sunk up in the logs and places like that and just hid.
How long did it take you to get your limit on Saturday? Was it pretty quick? Was it a morning bite or was it an all-day grind?
Yeah, the morning bite lasted until about 9:30 or 10 for me. I think I had my limit in like an hour and a half, and they were all just average decent fish, 15, 16 inches. I had an 18. Actually, I think I had 2 18s, and I caught another 18 later on that day. But it happened pretty quick that morning. But man, it got tough after about 10:30 or 11. It really got tough for me. It did, and I just managed to, get lucky in the morning, go ahead and get my limit out of the way. And day 2 was scary. I had 2 fish all the way up. Yeah. I only had 2 fish all the way up until about noon. 12 or 12:30, I had 2 fish, and I was scrambling. I just said, man, I've got to make an adjustment. And I was wondering.
I was watching the leaderboard driving down here. I was trying to keep up with it, and I saw Corey's name. Corey jumped up there. He had some good fish on the stringer, and I kept waiting to see yours. And I was like, man, I don't know if Jody's sandbagging or what he's doing.
Yeah, no, where we were fishing, I didn't have any signal at all, and we had talked to the guy at the marina. He had turned off. He had free Wi-Fi, and he had turned it off because someone was abusing it or something. And we talked him into turning it back on, just for the hours for us to, I said, man, turn it on until 4 o'clock, and you can turn it back off. And he was like, hey, man, I'll do that for you. It was really nice of him, man. it was great. So, but yeah, I mean, I had 2 fish up until about 12:30, and then the adjustment I made, I dropped out. I was fishing the mouth of a creek. Well, actually, I was fishing up in the mouth, and then I dropped out to the flat, and just to try to find something new. And I looked. I seen something flashing across the lake from me, and I pedaled over, and it was gizzard shad jumping. And so I picked up a chatterbait, man, and just started slinging on that flat, big open flat, and it had logs and stuff on it, and I just kept throwing, and picked up the rest of my fish right there.
It sounds like a similar story to the TOC, I think. I said, this sounds like a similar story to the TOC. You just picked the chatterbait up.
It was. Hey, it worked once, man. It worked once. I figured it would work again. No, I did, man. I really got lucky with that. On Sunday.
Well, let me ask you this, Jody. I like I said, I didn't get to come, but I was watching from a distance. People posting on different social media about how the week went going up to the tournament. I mean, how was your pre-fishing? Did you feel like it was going to be a grinder, like a lot of people were describing?
Dude, our pre-fishing went so well. I was probably more excited about this tournament than any tournament I've fished in a long time, because I just knew I was going to get in there and hammer them. I shook off a 22-inch bass that seen me. I mean, it was the water was fairly clear. I mean, I rolled right up on it. It was sitting suspended about a foot below the surface, and I was like, daggone, there's a 22-inch bass. And I dropped my bait right in front of it, and it just attacked it. And I shook it off. And I caught a 22 1/4 the same day. I pulled up into a hole and just made a cast, and just wanted to see what was in there, and hooked up on a 22 1/4. And I never made another cast in that hole.
Man.
Yeah, I had, in 3 fish, I had 57 or 58 inches in 3 fish, and then Saturday they just weren't there.
Wow! So you had kind of the opposite experience.
That's a sinking feeling.
Yeah,
that's a sinking feeling in your gut, man, when that happens.
But you knew, I mean, those fish are still in that area. Whether the current changes or whatever, they're in there somewhere. You just got to keep plugging along till you stumble up on where they move to.
Yeah, usually when fish do something like that, it's an adjustment that you have to make. And you hear the MLF guys talking all the time. Let the fish tell you what they want. They're basically right. I mean, you're just going to find that adjustment. You
and Corey and was it Josh Stewart too? Y'all were all in the same general area.
Yeah.
How do you? I mean, we see people. We've seen it today on KBN. People complaining about being crowded out and getting cut off and fishing on top of each other. How do you, in a tournament setting, when everybody's gunning for the top, how do y'all work that out? How do you work out who's fishing where and who's going here and there? How do you work that out peacefully, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, luckily we were in an area that was probably, I don't know, maybe 3/4 of a mile long, and it had several different areas in it that you could actually get away from each other in. And there was a couple of times when Corey and I were fishing right on top of each other and like thrown in the same holes, but it was just in passing. It was just in passing, and we separated most of the. But yeah, you just got to give people their space. I mean, if you see some guy, I pulled out and went through a cut, and as soon as I pulled out, and I had a plan to go down the bank, I pulled out, and Josh was probably 50 yards down the bank. I just turned around and went back in where I was going. You just got to give them their space. I mean, somebody's always going to be fishing a stretch before you do, but it happens. It happens.
So how'd that work out? Is that something y'all just all stumbled upon or talked about beforehand, or how did y'all end up in that same spot down there?
Well, we didn't find out until later that that was one of Josh's honey holes. Actually, Corey and I thought we were going to have the place to ourselves. We was like, man, there's nobody here. There was not another kayak to be seen. We was all excited, and man, on the tournament morning, we got about 3/4 of the way there, and we seen, here comes Josh coming out of the bushes over there.
Well, that had to make you feel good, though. Whenever you see Stewart on Kentucky Lake, you made a good choice, right?
Yeah, right, yeah.
Everybody, you always hear the stories about where people fish and stuff. Well, I was talking to Siddiqui after day one, and he's like, Jody and Corey were down there in that creek Josh likes to fish. Like, you're lying. Like, all three of y'all put up, really good numbers. Like, man, that's a good one to roll up on there.
I know. We had a backup place too. We went to White Oak Creek to pre-fish, and when we got into White Oak, we seen Adam Riser there, and he was there, and Corey and I both was like, man, this place is probably going to be loaded on opening day, so we might ought to just find us another backup. So we went looking for another creek, but we had another backup besides the place we were fishing. And when we went to try to get an upgrade in that creek, when we got up in there, Adam was there too.
Oh man!
So I think he was just hitting these creeks, the heads of these creeks, and just packing up, sitting, hitting them. Which is a great strategy. It worked for him. So, yeah.
So, how quick into day one did you figure out things?
Go ahead.
No, I was say, how quick into day one did you figure out things had changed from pre-fishing?
When they completely shut down, about 10:30 or 11, I knew something was going on. Those Asian carp got up in there too, and they hadn't been in there during pre-fishing, and they had muddied the water up some. It didn't have the clarity that it had, and it was just something was off about it. We didn't really know what it was, but we'd already mostly had our limit. We'd already caught what we needed that day, so we were fortunate in getting it early, because from that time it carried, that no bite carried all the way into the next day.
Well, you're able to make the adjustments and figure it out, and that's what it's all about. And it sounded like all three of you did that, along with Adam, wherever he was hopscotching to.
Yeah, it was. I was really lucky that I left out of there when I did, because those shad stayed up for about maybe 30 minutes, and after that the bite went back off again. But as long as they were out there skipping and jumping, man, the bass were under them. And that gave me my limit on day two.
Was this your first BOS tournament this year? You weren't at Norman, were you?
Yeah.
Were you at Norman?
No, I didn't fish Norman, and didn't fish Seminole. I went to Seminole and pre-fished, and man, I sucked. It was horrible. And so that's what KBF had another tournament going, and I was familiar with their area down there, so I went down there and fished it.
That's what I thought, that this was your first one, and you just came in and won it. Like, you might as well have not even fished the other two anyway. Like, hell, I'll just stroll on in here and take their money and keep going down the road.
I don't know what it is about Hobie, man. I've had 5 tournaments that I fished with Hobie, and I've won 3 of them.
That's what AJ just posted that a little while ago. Said that to us. Yeah, you got figured out.
That's crazy. That's crazy, man.
What was it like being with Corey Dreyer for his first Hobie tournament? Was he nervous? Or did he cry at all? Like,
big boys don't cry. No, man. He was really, really excited about it.
I know. We've been ribbing him back and forth. I knew we'd get him out at some point.
Yeah. I was telling him about it. Last year I was telling him about it. He was asking me, about how the tournaments were ran and stuff, and I told him they ran excellent. The tournaments are always, you can expect the same thing at every tournament. You can, there's a nice even keel to it. And
I wish it would have been a real one, though. I hate that his first one was this virtual coronavirus stuff. I like the white tablecloths and the big show and everything. To me, that's a big part of these tournaments. Yeah. And Hobie did a great job with the social distancing and drive-through check-ins and all that stuff. They did a great job with it. But still, I talked to Harshman and Chris Odom. We were next to each other in line. That was pretty much the extent of my interaction there in person for the whole trip. And that kind of, that takes a little bit out of it for me.
Yeah, but even at that, he's ready to fish another one. Yeah.
What's next on your list?
Well, KBF has a trail on Kentucky Lake in 2 weeks.
There you go.
So I was thinking about it, but man, I tell you, I love the Susquehanna River. There's a tournament up there on the 27th, and so I'm kind of flip flopping back and forth between those two.
Gotcha.
I love the Susky, man.
I've never fished it. That's on my list.
Man, it's like having if you've ever fished Erie or St. Clair, you know, you got that strain of smallmouth that are just big and wide, and they got the small mouth. And most river fish are long and slender. You know, most of the river smallmouth are long and slender, but up there in the Susky, you get those big lake-type smallmouth in that river, and they just, man, they tug. They tug, and you catch a lot of 18s and 19s. It's just a great smallmouth river.
I like that.
That's awesome. Hey, Ryan, Corey jumped in there and said he'd be at the Coosa for sure in the comments.
Right on.
Me too. Save you a seat.
Yep.
All right. Hey,
that's awesome.
Y'all want to comment on?
Corey wants to go to the TOC, man. He's gonna jump in there and try to get him a spot.
Yeah, man.
Does he want to come just as a companion, or does he want to come as a competitor?
Oh man, man. And the hits just keep coming, man.
Hey, Corey, there's a place called the Mouse's Ear in Knoxville. I'll see you there, pal. Don't Google it right now, please.
Hey, I was going to ask you kind of talked about it, Ryan. What did y'all think about how Hobie handled this whole weird situation? Because I saw drive-through awards after the fact where they were giving people prizes through the window. I thought, you know, it looked like they got real creative with how they handled it. What'd y'all think?
Yeah.
You go ahead and tell them. I've spoke my piece.
I didn't, dude. You were cutting out the whole time you were saying that.
No. He was asking about the awards and stuff, the drive-through, how Hobie handled the coronavirus deal here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. The top 10% was all that they required to come back to the awards ceremony. So there was 13 people there, and we stayed spread out, and we all wore, you know, our buffs around our faces, and I mean, they were very respectful of Kentucky's rules at the moment. You know, I mean, a lot of the states, they're all different. Some have opened up again, some aren't, and some are taking, you know, different precautions here and there. And they did the research, man. They checked into it all and made sure that they were in compliance with all their regulations, and they did a good job on it. And I have no problem, you know, conforming to that.
Yeah. I mean, I figured, you know, AJ's top notch, as good as it gets on tournament director stuff, so I figured they ran a tight ship. I thought it was cool seeing some of the posts. It looked like people were driving through to get their raffle prizes even through their window.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when we were, you know, to get the identifiers, they had 4 lanes with road cones, and you pulled in, and you had your boards. You know, we had our boards ready, and they would come out and check the boards, put the sticker on them, and then you just move on. It actually went really quick. I mean,
sounds like Chick-fil-A.
Yeah,
it was a lot like Chick-fil-A. And AJ said, "My pleasure."
Chick-fil-A, man. Yeah.
No, that's awesome.
But
I hope we don't ever have to do it again. But they did it well. Man.
Yeah, they did. They did a good job at it. I mean, if you want to make this stuff happen, man, I mean, as the season goes, I mean, this is what I do for a living, man. I mean, I have to fish. I have to fish. I mean, it's just like unemployment for 2 months for me, this whole thing was. And so, I mean, I've got to fish. And to have, you know, people like AJ out there, you know, who's pushing this stuff, and KBF still doing their stuff, and I'm hoping. I haven't heard anything from Bass. Have you heard anything from Bass?
So
Are they still going to have their the next tournament on Mississippi?
From what I understand, don't quote me because I'm not at all involved in any official capacity. From what I understand, yes, the Bass is still going to be on. We rescheduled Chickamauga to the fall, and we had that Bass Nation. You know, I think we had like 60 people show up for it on Chickamauga. But from what I understand, things are going to be back to normal with it.
Yeah,
this fall is going to be busy. It's going to
be
busy.
I mean, you know, you got a Hobie BOS on the Mississippi, right?
Yep.
So, and just after that, you're going to have, there's a Bass on up there at the.
A week later, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like the next week, or a week or two.
Yep.
So,
then you got the TOC. We have our state championship the same weekend as our state championship is the national championship on Gunnersville. I mean, there's so much stuff kind of piled right there on top of each other this fall, which I'm glad because I mean I'd like to win $3 or $4 more myself because this spring's been a little bit of a drought, not getting to have any of these tournaments.
You get it, man. You're always in there, dude. You're always in the mix, dude.
Not in Kentucky, buddy. I'm on a 3-year cold spell on Kentucky. I mean, I can't buy good fish up there.
You got a Kentucky rut?
Well, that's
I'm in a Kentucky rut, buddy. I am. It's hardcore, too.
You're probably done up there. You're done up there, though.
I'm done up there forever. Y'all can have it. You can have Kentucky Lake. I'll come up there. I'll let AJ fish it, and I'll run the board checks. AJ can go fish. I'm not fooling with that lake anymore.
Yeah. Usually Kentucky Lake is feast or famine for me, dude. It is. Either I find them or I struggle.
The area that I fished this year was way up north. It's Little Bear Creek. And until the lake changed, it was always consistent. And it may not be, a ton of big fish, but it was always consistent 17, 18-inch jig fish. Yeah. And that's why I liked them. They were on secondary points, and they loved eating football jigs. So we had a real good deal working. Well, 2 years ago, they got out of there. They quit. And I found them in there this year. I went in first place I went to, third cast was a 19.5 on Thursday. And I thought, man, they're back. They're back. I'm getting out of here. Let's go. I went back in there Saturday, and there was a boat fishing on that point at 5 a.m. At 5 a.m. when I launched, there's a boat already sitting on that point. I said, hey, man, how's it going? He's like, oh, good. He's like, I've caught 3 or 4 here. He's like, man, they love this jig. And I was like, yeah, sure do, bud.
Yeah.
And he caught a couple more.
Christine showed up to her spot. Christine showed up to her spot, and there's a commercial fisherman sitting on top of it.
I saw her video, and I saw a story today, and we talk a lot about the community and how everybody helps everybody out about Quentin going down for her to launch because there was apparently some creepy dude in an Impala that had been stalking her. I mean, and stuff like that, that's awesome. Hats off to you, Quentin. Good job. Yeah. Everybody kind of looks out for everybody, and don't ever reach out to get help with anything, whether it's changing a tire or need some line to spool your reel with. I mean, there's always people that'll help you, and that's that kind of speaks to what all this is about, in the big picture.
And we need that, dude. We need that. We need to be able to stick together and help each other out like that. And that's part of the whole reason why a lot of us got into doing this.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Especially right now.
Started out. I mean, we need it. We need it. You're right.
What else you got, Jeff?
I'll say we got people in the comments. If anybody here has a question for Jody, we're not going to keep him long. We usually go about an hour with KBN Live, but Jody's got something else coming up at 8, so we're not going to keep him that long. So if you got any questions, fire them off. And I know Ryan wants to probably go down to the beach and throw a surf rod or do something. I don't know what you throw it off the balcony.
Go snapper fishing, dude.
Yeah, go shark fishing.
I'm good, man. I don't know. There's some guys with some fishing poles out down the beach from me. I may grab mine out of the truck and see what they got going on.
They do a little surf fishing. But yeah, Todd chimed in there and said kayak fishing community is second to none, and it is definitely different. A little bit of talk went down on the KBN page today about the kayak community versus the bass boat community, sort of talking about some of the stuff people ran into with bass boats over the weekend. And I know, Ryan, you said you had a little run-in with some folks kind of crowding you. Did you have any problem down there, Jody? I don't think you could hear me. But Ryan, did you run into any of that, getting crowded by any of the BFL stuff that was going on?
So the guy on the point, he wasn't fishing the BFL. He was just there hanging out that morning, fun fishing or whatever. He left, but as soon as the BFL guys launched, I was way up north. That's my fault for fishing that close to where they launched, but I had about 12 boats come into that cove, and I was fishing like down a bank in between docks on riprap. This father and son come in and cut me off like 35 yards in front of me and start fishing the same direction I'm going. I don't care to fish around people. I don't care if we're going opposite directions and we, cast and one of us goes out around and the other one keeps going, whatever. But to freaking come through and cut in on me and start fishing the same stretch of bank, that kind of made me mad. So I went clear across the lake over to the LBL side and started fishing the rocks on the LBL side, looking for smallmouth. And it happened 4 more times over there. But by that point, I was so tired from crossing the lake. I'm like, hell, I'm just going to have to put up with it now. I made a mistake.
I was fishing a bank, and I had 2 recreational kayakers come between my kayak and the bank where I was fishing. They just come up through there, and they don't know. I mean, they really don't. But now the bass guys, they know. They should know better.
Well, what was funny is, I was not on anything of a consistent pattern. I was on a cover and water pattern pre-fishing. But every time I catch a fish, one of them BFL dudes would come over pre-fishing. Hey, man, what'd you catch that on? Hey, we got a tournament this weekend. Hey, what's the pattern looking like? We ain't catching nothing. That told me how tough the lake was fishing. Even if I'm on fish on Chickamauga or Gunnersville, you still don't have bass boat guys that are just hammering you for information, because they look at you in a little plastic boat and they think you can't fish anyway. So
that's right.
To have
you
them
don't count.
asking for fish,
you don't count.
That told me the lake was fishing pretty tough.
Hey, I got a couple questions for Jody. So Ryan Havlicek asked, "Hey Jody, what surprised you most? What surprised you most about the Kentucky Lake bite this year?"
I'll tell you what surprised me most about it was I actually found the fish in a large group that wasn't on a ledge or out in deep water. I mean, the bite was shallow, and it's been hot enough. I mean, it was cool for this time of the year when we were there for a couple mornings, but the bite was still really shallow this year.
That's the same thing that happened last year with Christine. She found them way back shallow, right?
Yep. I'm telling in the last 2.5 to 3 years, it's been a big change. The bait's not moving out on the ledges like it used to.
Yeah. So another thing I'm wondering too is, most of the pros in the bass boat world say that those fish out on the ledges are out there because they're not pressured. A lot of them have moved out there because they're not pressured. I mean, I think they've been out there all along, but there's been so much pressure on the ledges. I wonder if those fish are starting to come back to the creeks and the coves and I don't know. I'm just wondering.
I think it has to do with the shad population and the shad moving out to. That's why those fish go deep. They go deep because of the bait. That they're following that.
Yeah, they're going to follow. They're going to follow the food.
I think the huge. It's great that Tennessee and Kentucky have invested in this Asian carp management stuff. Let me tell you, though, it is not putting a dent in the population. Anywhere you go on that lake is just covered with Asian carp. It's
ridiculous. Crazy where I was at.
I think that the Asian carp, they're filter feeders. They're eating all the plankton. I think they stay out and they're eating all the plankton up and down these flats and ledges. That's keeping the shad, the threadfin, back in the shallower water, in the grass and stuff, where there's more abundance of plankton for them to eat. Therefore, the bass are staying back further. I don't know that the big bass are necessarily gone out of Kentucky Lake, but if you look at how many big bass were caught in this tournament compared to 3 years ago, it's not even a fraction. It's not even comparable at all. So I think you're definitely seeing a big shift. I know on Chickamauga right now, the offshore bite is on fire. All the bass are out deep. They just all loaded up and they're sitting on ledges. So, the Tennessee River system fishes pretty similar from lake to lake to lake. Seeing how Kentucky was fishing and knowing how Chickamauga is fishing at home, that tells me there's a big balance shift there for sure.
Yeah, Jay just chimed in and said there's no threadfin shad, so there's no bass schooling up, and that's why they're not out on the ledges. Same thing you kind of said there, Ryan.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that because I talked to where I was staying at. One of the guys that was staying there was a mapper for it's either Lawrence or Garmin, and he mapped all those ledges for them. And he said that he ran from Paris to the dam, and said it hardly found anything on the ledges. He hardly seen anything on the ledges up through there, and he said nothing like it used to be.
No. Well, I talked to Jason Lambert about this a couple days ago on my way down here, and he was asking how the lake was. I said, "Man, it's awful." And he said the last year that he won the FLW up there, when there was him and that Randy Haynes incident that went down, he said the reason it was so tough, he said there were two big schools on that lake then, and he said they were both, both of them were fishing them. He said normally it would be 20 or 30 big schools, that he could bounce from. He said, that's kind of his bread and butter was Kentucky Lake.
Yeah.
He said when it went down to like two schools, that there's a problem. That there's, something is changing in the lake. And I don't know what they're going to do to save it. I mean, it's got to be related to the Asian carp for sure. I think, high water in the spring it's affected the spawn some. Tournament weigh-ins, killing all the big bass in the summer doesn't help either. I mean, there's a lot of different things. I don't think you can point the finger at one, but it's definitely they're going to have to put the hammer down on something up there.
I will say this, man. I mean, where I was fishing, I seen millions of fry.
Yeah,
and lots of successive year sizes of bass, from 1 inch to 3 inches to 6 inches to I've seen a lot of them. So hopefully, man, I don't know. Maybe it'll come back a little bit here in a few years.
From what I've heard, there's a ton of like the 13 to 15 inch size bass, a ton of those.
Yeah.
But what's missing is like that 16 to 20 inch. They say 2 year classes. I don't know. I'm no biologist, but that's what all the locals and the pros that fish up there were kind of giving this feedback.
Yeah.
All right, I got a couple more questions for you, Jody. Coming in high. I got one from the People's Champ, Clifton Allen. He said a big topic down in Texas right now is how much of fishing is luck. What are your thoughts on this? Most are saying it's luck. I say it's very little luck. So what's your opinion?
I think it varies from tournament to tournament, dude. I definitely got lucky on 2 fish. And the bites were so few. If I hadn't had that luck on those 2 fish, I wouldn't have got my limit on the last day. One fish that was pure old luck was I was moving to another hole that I previously caught a fish in, and out of the corner of my eye, I spooked a bass off the bank, and it took off flying behind me, and I just grabbed my pole and just slung it behind me like that and hit it 10 feet from it, and it seen it, and it went and hit it.
That's not luck, Jody.
What's not luck is
that's deadly accuracy.
Yeah. I was lucky to spook that bass. But when it comes to making adjustments and stuff like that, I mean, I'd say at least 80% of it is knowing what you're doing, is time on the water. Maybe even more, maybe 90%. I don't know, but I think once you do it for so long, the luck starts to disappear, and you start figuring the fish out.
Well, when you put yourself in better situations, you kind of create your own luck too sometimes, right?
So that's
the
what I
more
was
you do
going
it,
to say.
the less luck is in.
That's right.
I don't think the luck part is you winning these tournaments. Like I feel like you break down the water, you put yourself in the right area. Now we can't control which fish bites, whether it's that 14-inch fish or whether it's that 21-inch fish. You need a little bit of luck. I mean, unless you're bed fishing when you can literally see the fish, a lot of it is luck when that chatterbait's running through the grass or whatever. But you got to be in the right area. I don't think you can just anybody can close their eyes and put their finger on a map and go win a tournament.
No, there's a reason why we study maps. We look at the charts. We weather patterns. We watch the pros. We watch who's catching what where, and we spend so much time on the water. I mean, without doing that, if you had never fished a day in your life and you went to Kentucky Lake on a tough day and won a tournament against BFL pro guys or the pros, that's luck.
Oh yeah.
But getting out and grinding in these tournaments and doing your homework and getting your time on the water, it takes a lot of that luck away.
How many days do you usually pre-fish for a tournament, Jody?
Usually I fish. I'll leave the house on a Monday, and I usually get where I'm going, and I'll fish from Tuesday up until pre-fishing ends usually on Friday.
Okay.
This year I've been getting there and usually fishing from Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. So usually at least 3 days.
I say that to get to the point of discussion. We've talked about pre-fishing cutoffs. Where maybe you have a dead period.
Yeah.
2 or 3 weeks beforehand, and then open up an official pre-fishing period like 3 days, like something around that. I want to get your thoughts on it as somebody that does travel around to all these big tournaments all over the place.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing, though. I mean, if you're in this and you're doing this, like I'm on the water, like I don't know, maybe 250, 260 days a year. And I'm going to usually frequent waters that I know that I'm going to have tournaments on. So actually, every time I go out, I'm actually kind of pre-fishing.
Yeah.
So, how you would regulate that? I mean, if you had a period between, I don't know, say you couldn't fish that water 2 weeks before the tournament, and then you had a 3-day period, you could probably do something like that, I guess.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't matter to me. I mean, here's the way I look at that too. Somebody makes the rules, I follow them.
That's good. That's simple.
If I've got to follow the rules, so does everybody else. So I mean, it's whatever they say we got to do, I'm happy with it. Let's do it.
Yep, I like it.
Yeah. Let's see. We got Christine has a question that she says we ought to ask you, Jody. She said, ask Jody about fishing behind Ike. With a laughing emoji, so there must be something funny there.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Oh man, Ike was Ike. I mean, we were fishing
this weekend. Is this when that happened?
We were fishing a lake in Georgia that had just opened up down there, and there's supposed to be some really big bass in it. And Christine and I we were hammering them. And it just seemed like Mike was scrambling trying to get him. But now AJ said that he caught a lot of fish that day, but I think Christine and I think we caught a lot more size fish.
I think we caught.
So we were kind of like elbowing each other, going, "I think we beat him on size. I think we beat him on size," which we may have or we may not have.
How you liking that Hobie? Speaking of.
Oh, dude! Oh my gosh! I mean, it's just a superior boat, dude. It is.
It is.
I fished everything that's out there, just about from a Pelican, a Coosa, and everybody. You know what? Everybody is making good boats right now.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a good boat out there. If you make junk right now, you're not going to be able to make it in this market. But here's the thing: there's always going to be somebody at the top of that, and Hobie's got it. Hands down, man. That 360. I mean, I had the wind kicked up on Sunday. I don't know if you guys were in the wind or not, and I was trying to.
Yeah.
I was holding on a spot, dude. With that 360, dude, it's like having spot lock. I mean, I was just, it was blowing, and
not quite.
I was just hit the pedal.
Jeff actually had spot lock. He would have been paddling that autopilot around out there, so don't worry about him.
Yeah. No, man, I do. I love it. I love the space. I love the style of pedal on it. I mean, I love that push. It's smooth. It's quiet. It holds all my stuff. Plus a cooler. I can put a cooler on the back, so I'm not burning down.
I don't always feel like I need
for what I do.
Everything.
It is a superior.
So I tried to talk myself into, a 180's fine. I don't need that 360, whatever. I got out there in the wind on Chickamauga one day, and I got so mad, and I was like, all right, okay. I called Jamie down at the dugout, and I said, I give up. I need it. Get me one ready. I'm coming to get it. I was wondering how you felt after the switch. And how's Corey liking his Hobie?
That's my Hobie that I won the TOC in that he was in.
He circled back around, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean he's always had a Hobie, dude. Just up until recently, sold his one to his dad, and no, I told him. I mean, if you're going to fish the BOS, I mean, you're crazy if you go down there and paddle. I mean, I know some guys do the creek fishing, and there's nothing wrong with it, but the type of fish, Dude, you need something like a Hobie. But I had that boat. I bought the boat that I won the TOC in last year, and I told Corey, I said, man, I'll throw it on the trailer and you can just use it. So, yeah, man, he's always liked Hobies, but yeah, he
used to have one that he fished out of all the time.
Yeah. I mean, the seats, man, are so daggone comfortable, man. I've got back problems, I've got knee problems, and that boat just I can spend all day in it, and I'm completely comfortable in it.
Have you got a kayak cushion yet?
I don't have from the company. I don't, but I've been using gel foam for.
Try one of them things. It seems like the simplest, just dummy thing there ever was. I loaned one to this guy that was staying in our house, and he came back. He's like, "That made all the difference in the world, right there." I said, "I felt like just a little piece of." And that foam, it's antimicrobial. It doesn't stink. It don't get waterlogged. And he's like, man, that was a good call right there.
Yeah, I've been using. I started out years ago. I started out using dog beds. I take a little dog bed and throw it in my seat. And I was known for that around here. Everybody made fun of me because, hey man, where's your dog bed at? And that's what I use. But then I use a piece of memory foam that I sit on now. I get it. Yeah, I mean, but I'm going to check out the kayak cushion. I haven't been there to check them out yet.
Give it a look. See, we're going to do a little special run of Yak Addicts kayak cushions. We'll see if we can't get you one heading your way.
That sounds good, man. I'd love to try one.
There you go. Well, we're getting on about 7:45. I know Jody's got to get on to another show. There's no more questions anyway that I saw that I wanted to ask. I think Jake Harshman asked one, but I forgot what it was, so we'll let that one go. But yeah, man.
Hey, man, I've had a great time.
Yeah, we sure appreciate you, Jody and Ryan. I know you down there at the beach. You still made time to make this happen. So
I ain't got nothing else to do.
Here we go. Yeah, KBN Live is back. We'll try to get another one going maybe for next Monday. But Jody, thanks so much, man. And you're an inspiration. Like I said before we came on, you're an inspiration to everybody out there that has to wear reading glasses to see their fishing line. You are the man.
Jody, I appreciate you coming on. We'll let you jump off here real quick, Jeff. I think we need to I want to touch on this rankings page that come out.
Okay.
I don't want to tie Jody's time up with the bullshit, but I bought a 24-pack.
I'm out here, guys.
All right, Jody. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you, sir.
Take care, Jody.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I had a blast, dude.
Good taking a whipping from you again, Jody. All right.
All right. He's pictures there, but that's fine. So let's talk about it.
What's your take on this, Jeff? I shared it on my personal page, and I'm getting all kinds of heat from it.
You shared it? I hadn't even seen it yet.
Yeah, I shared it. I looked at it and shared it, and then I get the DMs blowing up. You need to take a peek.
Well, here's the deal. Those guys asked me to be part of that little panel, so I actually was on there with them for a couple weeks. Submitted, I think, my top 30 or something like that to them. Basically a poll of 15 or 20 guys and girls.
So was it just, hey, you send me your top 30, you send me your top 30, and then they kind of took an average? Or so this wasn't like a data spreadsheet?
No, I mean, I left it last week, but before that, it was just everybody put in your opinion, basically like a coach's poll in football.
Huh.
You know what I mean?
All right. Yeah, I mean, there's some names on there that don't necessarily fish tournaments or anything. Like, they may fish like 2 a year or something that were on there. That there was a lot of heat coming on there. Dwayne Beatty was left off there. Like,
I think that's what you get when you do a human poll, because you use history and not actual performance. Because it's just like when we'll use a football team, for example. You'll get a team that's been terrible for 3 years, but they've got a rep of 20 years of history that gets ranked every year, even if they don't deserve it. Basketball, football, whatever. It's the same kind of thing. It was just
like Nebraska.
Yeah, Nebraska or UCLA used to get ranked all the time, even though they were terrible. Now they're just terrible. But that's the deal. It's somebody made a joke, I think, on KBN about it being like the Yak Angler Choice Awards. It's not that bad. It's not that level of bad.
Brandon Barton said that to me earlier. He's like, so we got another Yak Angler Awards.
It's just they selected, I don't know how many they ended up with. I think it was 15 to 20-ish.
50, yeah.
I mean,
it was
people on the panel is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah,
and they just voted. They voted on who they thought was it. And I say voted. They put their own list in there from their memory.
Very interesting. Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
yeah. So I know the list I submitted a couple weeks ago. I ended up stepping away from it and letting them do their own thing, but the list I submitted had Dwayne Beatty in it, and among several other people. So I don't know how they came up with their final list. I'm assuming it was just a law of averages or whatever. They may have probably kicked my list out since I left the panel, but
probably did. Yours got vetoed. You probably got banned after your protest, your peaceful protest.
No peaceful protest. Just a busy man. You can't.
Oh yeah. Christine said she got busy too. It was, y'all just had a lot of things come up there at once.
That's right. One main thing, but yes, a lot of things came up at once. But yeah, that's all it is. It's from what I gathered from it, it is just a collaboration of people's opinions of who they think are the top 50 anglers.
Gotcha. All right. Well, that's what I need to know. We got anything in the comments there? I know John Allen was chomping at the bit. Clifton was also commenting on it there on my personal page.
Harshman said it's kind of like the Cowboys. I guess he means Dallas Cowboys.
Maybe he's talking about Clifton and John.
A couple people asked what ranking page. So I guess it's not out there too much yet. It's the KBBT guys.
I'm honestly, hats off to Greg and the guys. They've stirred up all kinds of stuff here in like 2.5 months. Also, welcome back Conrad. He's off mute, back on the page. He's hit us a couple times today.
Let me tell you something. Conrad and I became Facebook friends. He's quite the follow on just Facebook in general. Let me tell you, if you want some entertainment out there.
Yeah, no, he and I are, believe it or not, he and I are Facebook friends as well. We've had several conversations here on the side.
Yeah, so he's quite the follow over there with all that's going on in the world. Let me tell you, it's a good follow.
If you love politics,
I appreciate his perspective. Yeah, but yeah, Conrad, and going back to the rankings. Conrad the Barbarian didn't make the rankings of the KBBT rankings. What in the world?
He was an honorable mention. That was another topic of discussion. Yeah. Was Conrad's own post, like how many online events do you have to beat the internet in before you're taken seriously as a real life angler? The question's out there. I don't know.
Did you see Matt Scotch earlier before we came on? His idea.
Yeah, I did.
The separate
an online is. I think honestly. I think that's a good idea. Yeah. Here's where the whole online deal is. If it's nationwide, I think it's somebody from Florida that's won the last two last two, however you want to look at it, KBBT brackets. Like when you got places like Florida that are just full of donkeys, you got Texas that can, in my opinion, that's the only other state I would pick out of the country that could consistently compete with Florida. California, hit or miss, but those two definitely, I think, are in a league of their own. So then how do you determine these? If you did a power rankings of online, how do you do it? Total inches? Like what are you looking at? Because how are you going to compete with 118, 125-inch stringer? What's the magic
no power
formula?
rankings. We'll just go by who makes the best memes and fan opinion. That's what we'll do, or whatever.
Fan opinion?
The people's opinion.
Jason Yang's my number one angler.
All right.
Shout out to Christine. Jason Yang's my number one angler.
That's awesome.
Mic drop.
Pasty
drop. My number one angler.
Yeah. So funny stuff, man. Those guys, like I said, they're pushing the envelope. I think their bracket thing is now split off into regions, maybe, and some team stuff. So we'll see how that goes for them, and more power to them. I did it. It was fun for 1 month, but I probably won't ever do it again. Not because of anything hateful. I just don't have that many weeks consecutively to commit.
It is a lot. I mean, that is a lot to ask to be in that deal. Like and you can fish it in conjunction with your other stuff, but like a lot of Saturday, Sunday type stuff, I got something going on one of those days. I don't get too many days at home myself, period. But
what do you got coming up, man? I know you're on vacation, but what's next for you?
I'm going to go home. We've got a night tournament on Chick coming up, so I'm going to go pre-fish for it when I get home. And then in 2 weeks, I'm going to pack up, head back down here, and me and Brandon Barton are going to try to do a little tarpon video for an upcoming project we have going.
Very, very nice. All right. I got a little local tournament this weekend on Beaver Lake. They finally let us have our tournament permits. So I can actually fish a little tournament, and then we'll see after that. I probably won't get back out traveling until August, but I'll see you guys on the road then. Anyway, good night, man. You ready to get out of here?
Appreciate it. Vinny, I hope you're doing better. Vinny had a bad accident. I'm sure a lot of people saw that. Queen City, Vinny Ferrari.
Yeah.
I think he's getting back on his feet. Hopefully he gets his gear back together and he's back fishing soon. You're in our thoughts, sir.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, everybody out there, stay safe. Thanks for watching tonight. It was a good one, and we'll try to wrangle something up for next Monday. All right?
Let's do it.
All right, man. We're gone. Y'all have a good night.
See ya.